Wassail Scorpio. I've had to shift because the shadows of Libra were long and cast dark shadows, and was a tricky reading. It didn't seem to have didn't seem to have much hope in it. Well, it did, but it was just a reminder that Libra have got this brilliant ability to hide their shadows from everybody. So it'll be interesting to see what you're bringing to your reading. So let's begin with the bowl, Neptune's bells. It kind of came in and it went and it came back in again, but the middle was so tender, the middle was so soft. It's like your exoskeleton hides your tender heart. And I was hearing the song, it's too darn hot, it's too darn hot, I'd like to sup with my baby tonight, and fill my cup with my baby tonight. It's too darn hot. Don't know what that's about. Maybe it's something to do with the sting in your tail. Maybe you fear the sting in your own tail. So now, you're the first sign where I'm going to... You kind of have two rulers. And yeah, that Mars is one of them. And that is that heat. But I feel like we need to look at Pluto. I'm just, you see, because it's interesting looking at the notes of Mars and Pluto. They're C and C sharp. They're a driven semitone apart. So we're going to look at the backbone. We're going to look at the Pluto frequency that we use in more modern interpretations. Because the only reason Mars is also seen as a ruler was because before the big distant outer planets were discovered, some of the inner planets, because it was all about planets you could see with your eyes, were assigned. And it doesn't mean that Mars isn't still a ruler, but there's something about this reading, even though that heat just come out, that's actually about the spine note. We'll see. It might come out in the reading and it'll call for it. But for now, let's just do your C sharp, Pluto. That was interesting because as soon as I started singing it, yesterday I went to a chiropractor and he cracked open my spine and that note was flowed easier. I feel like, like Libra shadows are trying to get hold of us again. So, I'm going to sing that note again. But yeah, there was something much more open physically for me. Actually, I'm Scorpio rising, so... It's really strange. I want to say, like, breathing's easy, which is interesting because in Libra it wasn't. Breath, my breath feels longer, and I'm up a mountain. The oxygen's very thin, and there's something, I feel like that's part of your frequency. Because I can't say it's part of mine, because when I did the sounding on Libra, it wasn't. But there was something very deeply breathed. There was something very open. There was something very stable about Pluto right now in your house. So, with these readings, it's 11:55. We're looking at the evolution of this deck, but we're looking at the magnum opus, the 4 characteristic parts of each sign, to help us to understand the prima materia that we have the ability to work with, our prime materials for each zodiac sign. But I call them house because I want to get people to look at all of their houses and see what planets they have in certain houses and how that affects them. So this isn't necessarily house 8, although it could be. It's more about you looking for what Scorpio represents for you, what house number it is on your chart, because it's all different. So we're looking first of all at the shadows, because it's our shadows, those energies that we come in with on our birth chart, that pull and call to us, the darknesses that help us to grow. So we look first at the fact that Scorpio, you have Pluto, and Pluto's a very difficult underworld energy, and you have a self-destructive nature. You have, look at me in the eyes, look at me in the eyes, look at me in the eyes. You have that hypnotic control over people. Come here, listen. You have a sense of malcontentedness. Even when you're enjoying yourself, and self-indulgent, addictive, degenerative, and vengeful. But they're your shadows. They're the putty that you come in with, that you can mold into something beautiful. But you can't do that if you can't recognize them. So these frequencies, these energies, in many ways, you know, they're the most obviously self-destructive, and you have a self-destructive streak. But that doesn't mean that's how you live your life, Scorpio, because you got a hard exoskeleton. Now that's interesting. I'm sure they just came out in Libra. Well, 2 of them. They didn't come out together, and I put all the cards back in the deck separately, shuffle, rifle, move them, shift them. So I'm just going to ask for a couple more. So your darknesses is what we're looking at. They are really, really dark. I'm just laying these out. There's a lot of cards that you've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it begins with it's Make, environmental wisdom. Make was a Rapa Nui, I think, goddess, Easter Island, and there's that sense of, or the energy that I'm getting from this card is the sense of their story, which is they made all these giant heads, and they rolled them on wood, and they cut down all the trees, and then suddenly there were no trees left. And that actually isn't the truth of their story. The bells ring out for the truth. So the truth of their story is, when colonial powers arrived on their island, they moved all the people down to an area that wasn't very good for growing food on, forced them to live in this certain area like a reservation, introduced sheep, and the sheep ate all the sapling trees, and so nothing grows. So it wasn't the indigenous people, like it's not you who make you the way you are, it's the perception of others. There's something about within your shadows. I want to say you understand your shadows more than any other sign. You understand the benefits of darkness. You understand the joy of shadows and indulgence. All of those things I read to you that are meant to be negative attributes, to you feel quite positive. It's how others perceive you. And it's followed by Vesta, the eternal hearthlight. I'm getting this sense that it's almost like Thor at an anvil, smelting, trying to reshape something. It's like your continuous hammering on everyone else to wake up and celebrate shadows. How lovely. The inextinguishable. And that's an energy of you. It can, look, don't get me wrong, you can go into self-destructiveness, but it's not caused by you, it's caused by the perception of others on you. Because I'm now getting this card of boil, like a boil that needs lancing. This is emotional heat, this is scalding, this is sex, this is pleasure, this is celebrating. Oh, there's someone hammering over there. It's like a constant job, just hammering on at everybody to get them to understand the joys of sexual pleasure, Scorpio. It's just interesting that you're the first sign where I could say what we perceive as negative shadows, you feel are the most wonderful positive things. So you've got antimony, and this is home. This is the seat of our soul. This is house 4, and this is wolf protection. This is the wild, instinctual human nature. And you're like, why does nobody else appreciate their wild, instinctual human nature? It feels like you're a symbol for the world, because it's a cross on top of a globe that's waiting to be filled. Here's the Earth itself, the planet Earth, as kind of salt, as the energy of materializing something. It's the first stroke that makes the Earth. To create the Earth entirely, we have to bring scorpionic understanding down into the entire world. We need everyone to appreciate House 8. House 8. They haven't been about that before, but they need to look at what's in their House 8 to see how they don't understand House 8. That's why yours is saying, look at House 8. Death, sex, and taxes, and other people's money. How do people feel about House 8 in their own lives? Are they not willing to look at it? Because this is a celebration of all that energy, of memento mori. That self-destructiveness, Scorpio's like, and what of it? It teaches you things. So, you are squaring off with the moods of others. This energy of the moon is coming across as the population at large, as the world who can't appreciate pleasure. There's something of the Puritan wagging a finger, and I just see in Scorpio standing there. You're not even raising your tail to sting them. You're laughing at them. It feels like your shadows are your comfort. That's really interesting, Scorpio. So now let's look at your light attributes. Never heard that bell ring so long. There's fireworks going off as well. So what are the energies that I call it self-calm, but you're calmed. You're calmed by your shadows because you're celebrating your dark side. Turn to the dark side, Skywalker. So, you're dutiful, you're trustworthy, you're dependable, you're devoted, you're resolute. And I think the key one was a beautiful word that Cindy brought in to this, which is mystical guardians. You are mystical guardians. So, Scorpio, all your good stuff. This is going to come out and go, yeah, not interested in it. Scorpio's plus sides. You see, now I am going to have to sing. See, because it came out. Aries, ruled by Mars. Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Whether it'll fit in with whether it'll fit in with this, it's like the world's cracking up around me. I think this is the energy inside you. You just don't get why the world can't see life the way you do, because they wag their finger, but you're enjoying yourselves more. So let's see if we can get a C over this bell ringing. So I'm being told this is about not manipulating. It's about hammering at things, never letting go of something. It's about the malleability of things. If you only just... The other hammer's starting now. You've got to mould others. This is really interesting because this isn't about you. It's like you're happy with you. Dark and light right now. So we have Aries, calcination. This is when you take the fires and you burn all the molecules for fireworks, all the molecules around you. And because you need to show other people how to polish themselves up. You know, there's that. Think of the shiny black scorpion. It's a wonderful, glossy sort of energy that's content within its own being, and rub it up the wrong way and it will sting you. And there's something about the sting in the tail being your energy. It's like this card talks about Molotov cocktails, it talks about touch papers, it talks about firing up. It's like you go in and you throw a bomb an aether spirit bomb inside other people to light their spirit fire up and see what's inside them. And they don't want you doing that, because it's almost like if the same thing were thrown at you, which they try to do, there's just something so pure inside your frequency. So these two cards, the Embers and Neptune, not ended, paused, it's like they are the two stings in the tail. And we need the sting in the tail. It's like a little bit of poison doesn't kill you. A little bit of scorpionic frequency should live within all of us. We all need to connect to our house 8 energy, but we need to look at where our house 8 is and why we're frightened to connect, why we're frightened to rake over the embers. This feels like this message is less about you, but what your energy brings to everyone, which would be the end of your message. Your gifts are what you bring, but it feels like just being you and being comfortable with the darkness. The fireworks are getting more and more extreme. The whole world is being blown up by Scorpio. Livers, kidneys, spleen, ancestral blood echoes. This is coming across as an energy that will never die. Something that's completely permanent. And this Sappho frequency is always about sensual expression. If people could just accept the sting in the tail, that little bit of heat, that too darn hot energy that they're frightened of, if they could just let that in, they would see that it's actually just like Scorpio does. It's the most beautiful expression of truth and true sensuality. I'm fascinated by the world kicking off all around Scorpio, and Scorpio just being like, chill out, get undressed, and let's have some fun. 2. Getting louder as I said that. What is the subconscious wisdom inside you? What are the energies inside you that you know? Well, we kind of know, but gallant, ardent, heartfelt, reverent, sincere, and tantric. Your energy is clearly increasing as we go through this. This has been going on all night. Literally that many fireworks all night. It's really interesting. There's a lot of asteroids coming out, similar with Libra. This is Haumea. And this is trusting, birthing creativity. You trust. It's very difficult to concentrate amongst all of this noise. Look, Mars himself has also come out. The fires. Trust in the passions. Trust in the drives in the molecules. It's almost like you're teaching people to trust their own instincts. I mean, it's because this really should be about you reaching this balance point. But I just feel like you have it. I feel like that's your instinct. You trust your own creative processes. It's the world of others that doesn't trust your creative processes because they've spun a morality around everything. This is very... Look, when I wrote the list, I deliberately avoided putting on the word in your negative thing, sex maniacs. Because I think it's a word that's become too easily thrown at Scorpio. So that's why I put degenerate. so that it covered more areas. And yet I feel like you and your cards are celebrating that very thing. And there is a big thing at the moment where loving sex has become a little bit taboo. A little bit like you shouldn't. And yet it's life. It's the Philosopher's Stone. This energy, death, sex, taxes, other people's money, it's the energy that keeps the world going round and round and round. So what do we have here? We have magnet. Magnet is erotic entanglements, attraction. It's just part of your frequency. You have arsenic. This is house 5, magnet, pleasures, playfulness. It's playful to be a sexy Scorpio. Arsenic. The transformation. By being open, by being pleasurable, by acknowledging your sexual eroticism and desires, you're healthy. This is the swan transformation, turning some ugly lump of clay and crystallizing it into something beautiful. It's the swan transformation. And you have Mary the Jewess. Mary the Jewess was the only person able to understand how to work the Philosopher's Stone. Your Philosopher's Stone is sexual desire, is passions, is playfulness, is to get impassioned, to make... It's like a whole series of fireworks representing petit mort, which is the idea that every orgasm is a little death, and yet every little death is like the arsenic. It's the little bit of poison that brings you back to life. Totally crazy energy, Scorpio. Oh, I'm loving it. So, your gifts that you bring to the world. In truth, your gifts are hope, optimism, redemption, renewal, rejuvenation. There you go. And you are the spiritual gatekeeper. You are the spiritual gatekeeper. You seal the store of death because you understand it. Right, it's interesting. There's 4 cards. I hope you can hear me. Cancer. This is the energy of to dissolve into a solution. So you are the solution, and you pull in frequencies from others, and you dissolve them in your being. I'm going to have to pull the microphone in because it feels like I'm not going to get heard. You dissolve other people's emotions to help them process it. That's part of this tantric energy of full, beautiful eroticism. And then you have Leo. You digest the experiences of others to teach them something about themselves. It's like you are the sexual healers. That's the frequency I'm getting here. You're the people that need to reach out and show people how to explore themselves and love themselves better. And then Sagittarius. Mellow. You have to teach people by drip, drip, drip of your understanding of emotions, the water that is part of your sign, because they're endless. It's almost like everyone's heads are popping at what's happening when Scorpio teaches them their own tantric gifts. So it's about mollifying, softening, emotionally appeasing. I feel like we need to all go and find a Scorpio and have some tantric sexual healing from them right now. This is water. This is your sign. It's Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. There is just an energy. It's too darn hot. It's too darn hot because most people can't deal with your form of sexual expression, wordsmithery, and understanding. I think I'm just going to have to stop now, as the whole world explodes around me in an orgasm of fireworks. I mean, they're here, right on top of me. So, Scorpio, I hope you can hear this message. Yeah. Go play with yourself, go and play with some others, because it's beautiful healing that you're bringing everybody. So, Wassail Beautiful Scorpio!